welcome to Camel Workshop. So this is Varsha, artist based in Mumbai. So my work is majorly inspired by nature and wildlife, and I have over 6 years of experience in teaching. So I'll be guiding you for the today's session. Let's look at the materials that we'll be using. So I'll be using Camel Artist Oil Pastels, then a Camel sketchbook or A4 size. Then by the end of the session, we'll be using Camel Arfina fixative for spraying it on the paint. So let's begin by sketching first. So we'll paint the peacock. So you can see in the frame, this is the painting that we are going to paint today. So we'll be just sketching the front part of the peacock, and this will be doing it naturally with oil pastels. So first we'll start by sketching the head of the peacock. Keep your lines really light, don't make it dark. So this comprises basically of like smaller curves similar to S and U's. Now we are sketching the peak of the peacock over here and the eyes. So we'll be only sketching the head of the peacock. Everything else will be directly painting it with oil pastels. So for this, we are using Camel Artist Oil Pastel. So basically we'll use the shades of blue and shades of green. So we'll start by using the lighter colors and then we'll apply darker layers on top of it. First, we'll look at the layering technique. In layering technique, what we'll do, we'll apply the lighter layer and then on top of it, we'll add the details. Also, we'll try to create a gradient from light to dark. So, we'll use two different colors. So, here I'm using light blue, then the other shade, it's sky blue. We are going to start with light blue on the top and we'll merge it with sky blue from the bottom. So for layering, just gently apply layer by layer, doing it lightly. Then we are going to merge the pigment. So here we have finished with the lighter color. At the bottom, I'll be adding sky blue. So we have added light blue first and now we are adding sky blue. So here I have applied both the color layers. Now we'll start merging. So those who don't have like a darker shade of blue, just stick to one shade of blue and apply that as for the head part. I'm going in for a second layer of with the same colors. After this, we are going to do the layering. Here again, we'll be using two different shades of blue. First is cobalt blue hue, ultramarine blue. We are going to add texture in the form of scales. We are simply going to do scales like this. So here again, we are going to use two different colors, cobalt blue and ultramarine blue. So first I am using cobalt blue and adding strokes on the left side. And also you have to make sure you are not entirely covering the base layer. The base layer needs to be visible so it will add depth and detail to your piece. So we are done with the first layer of strokes. Now we are going to do second layer. I'm switching to Persian blue as it's bit darker and we want to add like more depth. And now when we are adding the second layer of detail, we only be adding it on the left edge. We won't be covering the entire part. Same strokes, we are going to repeat like the same strokes. with the darker color. So we are going to add more highlights. So for that I'm using dark violet. So we'll be highlighting the neck area under the eyes. We are going from light to dark. Each and every layer needs to be visible. That will help you to add depth to your painting. And now we'll be adding few highlights at the bottom. You can notice the difference, like the sketch is more popping out as we are adding details to it. And for the last layer, we'll be using black for very minimal darker tones only at the bottom. So the more layers you add, the more detailed your painting will look. Also, as we are using artist oil pastel, you can apply multiple layers. And under the eyes, so at the bottom I'm using black. On the top side we'll be using a shade of grey. So for that I'm using dark grey. We'll start by painting the feathers, painting the blue in the middle and then a layer of orange, and lastly we'll paint the strokes. I'll be doing it directly. So we are starting with a shade of blue. So for that I'll be using cobalt blue hue. So we are starting by painting the center part of the feather. We'll cover all the center part first. Doesn't need to be exactly similar to how I'm painting it. You have to just follow the color shades, paint it randomly. Just enjoy the process. And one more thing to remember here, the ones which are in the background, you paint them small, and as we come towards the front, they will be more detailed. Also, you can notice like I am painting the ones at the front slightly bigger. Now with a darker shade of blue, we'll add a extra layer of detail. What we have done, we have created the center part with one shade of blue. To give it like an extra touch of realism, we'll use a darker shade of blue. We'll use dark violet for it. So here at the center, we won't be adding it for all the center part, just the ones which are in the front like this with dark violet. Once you are done, we'll be using different shades of green. Now we'll be finishing feather center part. We'll be doing orange layer first, a mix of yellow and orange. For that I'm using chrome yellow hue, creating a circle. Also, when you are painting with a lighter tone, the dark colors, when we apply, it gets stick on the pastel. Just clean that before going ahead with a second layer, or you will end up getting like a green layer. Once we are done with yellow, now we'll switch to orange, and only on the top edge of the feather we'll be doing orange. So here we are finished with the yellow. Now we'll use a shade of orange. We won't be adding details to ones which are on the top side over here. Only at the bottom we'll add a layer of orange. So we are going to start with a light green shade for our base. So here I'll be using light green, grass green, deep green. So these are the color shades that we'll be using. Light green for the base, grass green for the feather strokes, deep green. Color the whole base first. 3 different shades of green will do. Here our main motive is to go from light to dark. So we'll start with lighter color and then we'll move on to the darker shade. So entire base will be color with the lighter color first. Leaf green or any other shade of green that you have will work. So here we are done with the base. Now I am using grass green for painting the feathers. Now we'll be adding stroke like this, like each and every feather have like thin strokes. We'll try to replicate that. So use one edge of the pastel so you get like thinner strokes. Strokes also will be doing it with different colors to add depth. So whenever you are adding new layers, on top of base layer, make sure the base color is also visible. Here there are like multiple feathers overlapping each other, so the center part will be more darker and filled with more number of strokes. Now we are switching to a darker shade of green. I am using a shade deep green and adding like same stroke for the feathers. To make the green darker, on top of that I am using ultramarine blue for few strokes. Now for few final highlights I'll be using black color for darker values. Again only at the center part and for few feather strokes. Make sure your black color is bit pointy. Now we are sketching the eye. So we are drawing in one line like this. It needs to be sharp and a dot on top of that line like this. We are going to highlight the top and the bottom with white pigment. Just the top and the bottom with white. We'll color the background. You can use any available shades of yellow. So here I'm using orange yellow. Here we are going to create a gradient from dark to light. So orange yellow, chrome yellow and lemon yellow. These are the three color shades that I'll be using. Starting with the dark part, orange yellow. For the background, we have used orange yellow for the first layer. The next will be using chrome yellow hue for the second layer of it. And then for the last layer, we'll use lemon yellow. So we have created a gradient from. Now switching to lemon yellow for the final layer. Then again with the help of tissue paper and finger, you can blend the background together. After the blending, we'll add feathers on the peacock head. Now we'll use cobalt blue. So I'm using cobalt blue for the peacock feathers on the top like this. And I'll be using one more shade for darker highlight, so that is dark violet, same shade that we used for the feather center part, cobalt blue and dark violet, and connect them with black. Make sure you are using like sharp edge of the oil pastel so you get thin strokes. So we are almost finished with the painting. So you can paint like few leaves and flowers on both the edges. So for that I'm using grass green, different shade from light to dark. Same shades that we used for the feathers, same we can use for the grass leaves as well. Using darker shade of green for one more layer of leaf. Now I'm using orange and creating smaller circles for painting the flowers. Once you are done with orange circle, you can use a red color to do the highlights. For highlights, I am using scarlet color. It will make it more dark. Few dots, few white flowers. And as we are finished with the painting, we'll use a fixative spray. So here I am using Camel Artist Fixative Spray. Just shake it well and spray it from the distance. Don't like spray it like this, just keep it at a distance and spray it on the painting, so it will protect your painting. So we are finished with the painting. Thank you for joining, and do share your artwork with us on Instagram. Also let us know how you liked the session. Thank you again.